On my birthday, I waited for my husband and children to bring me cake, but instead my daughter handed me a card that said from mommy and daddy. And it wasn't written by me, but by my ex's new wife, who had taken my place. I need to tell someone what I did, what I'm still living with, because today is my birthday, and instead of cake and candles, my 7-year-old daughter handed me a card that said, "Happy birthday, Mommy," in crayon. Signed, from mommy and daddy. Except I didn't write it, Sarah did, my replacement, the woman who's now tucking my kids into the bed I used to share with my husband. Let me start where it all began, because maybe if I say it out loud, maybe if someone else reads this and thinks twice, then this I'm living in might mean something. It started with a text message on a Tuesday. "Hey beautiful, thinking about," from Jake, my coworker who always lingered a little too long by my desk, her who complimented my hair when David, my husband of 10 years, barely looked from his phone anymore. I should have deleted it, I should have blocked his number. Instead I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Wanted. David and I had been struggling. 2 kids under 10, a mortgage that kept us both working overtime, and somewhere between diaper changes and school pickups we'd stopped seeing each other. We were roommates managing a household, not lovers, not even friends really. When Jake's text came through while I was making lunches for Emma and Tyler, standing in my kitchen in yesterday's yoga pants with spit on my shoulder, I felt beautiful for the first time in forever. I texted back, "Thanks, having a rough morning." That was it. That was the first in everything I'd built. Jake worked in marketing, 2 floors from my accounting department. Divorced, no kids, the kind of guy who still went to happy hours and had weekend plans that didn't involve Chuck E. Cheese. When he asked if I wanted to grab coffee after work, I told it was harmless, just friends, just a break from the chaos at home. Coffee turned into drinks. Drinks turned into staying out until midnight, lying to David about working late on the Morrison account. For 3 weeks I lived in this bubble where someone found me fascinating again, where I wasn't just mom or honey, did pay the electric bill. I was Rachel, the woman who used to turn heads, who had dreams bigger than soccer practice and grocery runs. The night I crossed the line, Emma had thrown all over her sheets at 2 a.m. David had gotten with her while I pretended to sleep, too exhausted to move. In the morning he looked like, but still made breakfast, still packed the kids' lunches, still my forehead before leaving for work. Looked tired, I got them ready, I felt like garbage. A terrible wife, a terrible mother. When Jake texted asking if I wanted to meet for lunch, I said yes because I needed someone to tell me I wasn't a complete failure as a human being. Lunch led to his apartment. I won't give details, I can't. Even now typing this I feel sick, but I will say this: it wasn't worth it, not for a second. The guilt hit me before my clothes were back on. The shame was immediate and crushing like swallowing glass. I drove home in silence, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Emma ran to the door when I walked in, her little arms wrapping around my legs. "Mommy." Her daddy made mac and cheese for dinner. David smiled from the kitchen, sleeves rolled, stirring the "How was work, hon?" I wanted to. Right there in my hallway looking at my family, I wanted to disappear. Because I knew what I'd done wasn't just cheating on David, I'd betrayed Emma and Tyler too. I'd put everything they knew to be safe and stable at risk for what? An ego boost. But I didn't confess. I told it was a mistake, a one-time thing, that I'd take it to my grave. I into being the perfect wife and mother. I cooked David's favorite meals, planned family outings, initiated for the first time in months. I thought I could balance the scales, earn my way back to deserving them. Jake kept texting. I kept responding. Because as much as I hated for what I'd done, I was addicted to feeling desired. To having someone who couldn't wait to hear from me, who sent good morning texts and told me I was amazing. David loved me, I knew that, but it was comfortable love, routine love. Jake made me feel alive. We met again and again. Always his place, always during lunch or after work. I became a master of lies, of covering my tracks, of compartmentalizing. I had my family in my secret, and I convinced I was managing both perfectly. The kids never suspected anything. Emma would show me her drawings when I came home late, and Tyler would tell me about his day while I helped with homework, and I'd smile and nod while dying inside. David started commenting on how happy I seemed, how much more energy I had. "Whatever's gotten into lately, I like it," he said one night, pulling me close on the couch. I was living a double and I was getting good at it. Too good. The affair went on for 8 months. 8 months of lies, of stolen afternoons, of looking my family in the eye while betraying them daily. Jake started talking about leaving town for a new job, and I panicked. Not because I loved him, I didn't, not really. But because he was my escape from the guilt of what I'd become. That's when I made the stupidest decision of my. I suggested we go away for a weekend. Just us, somewhere we don't have to hide. I told David it was a girls' trip with my sister. He offered to take the kids to his parents so I could relax completely. The weekend was a disaster. Away from the sneaking around, the forbidden nature of it all, Jake and I had nothing. We were strangers who'd gotten good at hotel room small talk. I spent most of Saturday crying in the bathroom, calling every name in the book. This wasn't love, wasn't even good anymore. It was just habit, destructive and hollow. I came home Sunday night ready to end it. To Jake off completely and figure out how to live with what I'd done. David had set a movie night in the living room, blankets on the floor, popcorn, the kids in their pajamas. "We missed, Mommy," Emma said, crawling into my lap. I held her tight and made a promise: no more. It was over. But secrets have a way of coming out, especially when been careless for 8 months. David found the hotel receipt in my purse while looking for gum. Not the whole receipt, just the credit card stub dated from I suppose girls' weekend. Rack. He held the paper. "What's this?" I could have lied, should have lied. But looking at him standing there in his ratty Georgetown sweatshirt, holding our daughter who'd fallen asleep against my chest, I broke. "I need to tell something. The words came out like, fast, messy, impossible to take back. David's face went through every emotion possible: confusion, disbelief, rage, devastation, all in the span of about 30 seconds. Then it went blank. Completely blank. That was worse than the anger. Emma stirred in my lap. Daddy, why are crying? He wasn't crying. Not yet. But his eyes were red, and his hands were shaking as he gently lifted Emma from my arms. Let's get to bed, baby girl. I sat there in our living room, surrounded by the remnants of movie night, and waited. Waited for him to come back downstairs and scream at me, to throw things, to tell me to get out. Instead, he sat down on the opposite end of the couch, as far away from me as possible, and said, "How long? 8 months." He nodded like he was checking items off a grocery list. "How many? David, please. How many times, Rachel?" I couldn't count. Dozens. A lot. To love him? No. That was the truth. That was maybe the only truth I'd told in months. Then why? His voice cracked on the word, and I wanted to reach for him, but I knew I'd lost that right. I gave him every cliché in the book. We'd grown apart. I felt invisible. I needed to feel wanted. The words sounded as pathetic out loud as they do typed here. Because the truth was simpler and uglier, I was selfish. I wanted the rush of something new while keeping the security of something stable. I wanted everything and was willing to risk everyone else's happiness to get it. David didn't sleep in our bed that night. Or the next. He took the guest room, and suddenly our house felt like a crime scene. We moved around each other like ghosts, putting on a show for Emma and Tyler, who knew something was wrong but were too young to understand what. "Why is Daddy sleeping in the other room?" Emma asked me while I braided her hair for school. "Daddy's just trying out a new bed." The lies kept coming. Automatic as breathing, Tyler was more direct. "Aaron, Daddy getting divorced?" "No, baby. We're just working through some grown stuff." But I could see it in David's eyes. We were already over. He was just figuring out logistics. Jake called constantly. Texted, emailed, showed at my office. When I told him it was over, that David knew everything, he got angry. Can't just throw away what we have because got caught. What we had. Like it was something precious instead of something that had destroyed my family. There is no Jake. There never was. I made a mistake and now I have to live with it. He to tell my boss about our relationship, to make things difficult at work. The man I'd thought was charming and sophisticated was actually just another selfish who couldn't handle rejection. I almost laughed at how perfectly that summed my judgment. David started seeing a lawyer. I knew because I found the business card in his wallet when I was looking for cash for Emma's school lunch. Margaret Hoffman, divorce attorney. The sight of it hit me like a punch to the stomach. We tried counseling. 3 sessions where I cried and apologized while David sat stone-faced, arms crossed. The therapist, Dr. Martinez, kept pushing him to express his feelings. "I don't have feelings about this anymore," he said during our last session. "I just want to move forward with as little damage to the kids as possible." Dr. Martinez looked at me with something like pity. "Rachel, it seems like David has detached to protect himself emotionally. This is actually quite common in cases of long-term infidelity. The betrayed partner essentially grieves the relationship while still in it. Long-term infidelity. The clinical term made it sound even worse somehow. I begged. I pleaded. I offered to quit my job, to off all contact with the outside world, to do whatever it took to earn his trust back. David listened to all of it with that same blank expression. "The thing is, Rach, I don't want to do the work anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not enough, of wondering what else we're lying about, of looking at and seeing him. I just want to be done." The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. David's lawyer was efficient and thorough. My lawyer kept pushing me for more. More custody time, more assets, spousal support. "We're married for 10 years, she said. "We're entitled to half of everything." But I wasn't entitled to anything. I'd thrown it all away, and taking more than I deserved felt like adding theft to adultery. I agreed to David getting primary custody. Hurt me getting every other weekend and Wednesday evenings. I agreed to him keeping the house, the good car, most of our savings. I destroyed our together. The least I could do was let him rebuild without me taking chunks of what was left. The hardest part was telling Emma and Tyler. They took it about as well as they expect. Emma crying, Tyler angry, both of them asking if it was their fault, if there was something they could do to fix it. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that can't be fixed, I told them, the understatement of the century. But still love each other, right? Emma asked, her 7-year-old brain trying to make sense of a world that had suddenly stopped making sense. David answered before I could. Mommy and Daddy will always love you more than anything in the world. But sometimes adults can't live together anymore, even when they want to. He was kinder to me in front of the kids than I deserved. Never said it was my fault. Never made me the villain in their story. Even in divorce, he was protecting them from the worst of what I'd done. The day I moved out was gray and raining, like the weather was matching my mood. I packed my clothes, a few books, some photos of the kids. Everything else stayed. The kitchen table where we'd shared thousands of meals. The couch where we'd watched movies and fallen asleep together. The bed where I'd conceived both our children, and where I'd lied to his face every night for 8 months. Emma clung to my leg as I wheeled my suitcase to the car. "Don't go, Mommy. Please don't go." I knelt down and held her face in my hands, memorizing every freckle. "I'm not going far, baby girl. I'll see Wednesday, okay? And this weekend we'll do something special. Justin, me and Tyler." But I could see the damage in her eyes. The confusion, the fear, the beginning of trust issues that would probably follow her into her own relationships someday. I'd done that to her. Me, her mother, who was supposed to protect her from heartbreak, not cause it. Tyler hugged me stiffly, already building walls. At 9 he was old enough to sense that something was fundamentally wrong with this picture, even if he couldn't articulate what. David stood in the doorway, holding an umbrella he didn't offer to share. We'd said everything we needed to say in lawyers' offices and mediation sessions. No dramatic goodbye, no last-minute declarations, just the end of 10 years dissolving into Tuesday afternoon drizzle. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment across town. Beige walls, thin carpet, neighbors who played music too loud and fought too much. It was what I could afford on half an income with child support going out instead of coming in. More importantly, it was what I deserved. The silence was the worst part. No little voices calling for help with homework, no cartoon soundtracks, no David humming while he made coffee. Just me and the weight of what I'd thrown away. The first few months were survival mode. I'd pick Emma and Tyler Wednesday evenings and every other weekend, trying to create magic in a cramped apartment with a fold-out couch and no backyard. We'd go to McDonald's Playplace and the dollar movies, budget activities that felt pathetic compared to their real home with the swing set David built and the big TV and all their stuff. Emma adapted better than Tyler. She was young enough to accept the new normal without asking too many hard questions. Tyler was different. Quieter, more suspicious. He'd study my face when I said I loved him, like he was trying to figure out if I meant it this time. "Why did leave us, Mom?" he asked one Saturday while we were at the park. "I didn't leave, buddy. Mommy and Daddy just couldn't live together anymore." "But why?" He was relentless, this kid who'd inherited David's stubborn streak and my ability to ask uncomfortable questions. I gave him the sanitized version. Sometimes adults grow apart. Sometimes they want different things. Sometimes they make mistakes that the people they love most. He was quiet for a long time, pushing himself on the swing. Then, did stop loving Daddy. "No, baby. I never stopped loving Daddy." "Then why didn't try harder?" 9 years old, and he'd right to the heart of it. Why didn't I try harder? Why didn't I go to counseling before cheating? Why didn't I talk to David about feeling invisible instead of finding validation in Jake's bed? Why didn't I remember that marriage isn't a feeling, it's a choice make every single day? I didn't have an answer that wouldn't destroy what little trust he had left in me. David started dating 6 months after our divorce was final. I found out from Emma, who mentioned it casually while I was helping her with a puzzle. "Sarah made us pancakes this morning. She's really nice, Mom." Sarah. The name hit me like a... He'd moved on, found someone new to share Saturday morning pancakes with, someone who made my kids smile. I wanted to pump Emma for information. What did Sarah look like? How old was she? Where did she meet Daddy? But I caught. My 7-year-old daughter wasn't my spy, and my ex-husband's love wasn't my business. I'd given the right to care when I chose Jake's apartment over my marriage vows. Still it in ways I didn't expect. Not because I wanted David back. I knew that bridge was burned beyond repair, but because it made the reality final. He was building a new, a better, and I wasn't in it. Sarah turned out to be everything I wasn't. Patient where I was impatient. Organized where I was scattered, kind where I was selfish. She was a kindergarten teacher, divorced with no kids of her own, who seemed to genuinely enjoy Emma's endless chatter and Tyler's moody silences. She taught me how to braid friendship bracelets, Emma told me, showing off a colorful band around her wrist. She said she'd teach too if want. The generosity in that offer, from the woman who was essentially raising my children while I got them on weekends, made me feel smaller than anything David had said during our worst fights. Tyler warmed to her slowly, but he did warm. I could see it in how he talked about their weekend activities, their family dinners, their bedtime routines. Sarah was becoming the consistent mother figure in their daily lives while I was the fun weekend visitor who took them to movies and let them stay late because I only had them for 48 hours at a time. The worst part was that I liked her. When we'd exchange kids at pickup and drop-off, Sarah was always polite, always asked how I was doing, always made sure Emma and Tyler hugged me extra tight. She wasn't trying to replace me. She was just being the mother they needed when I wasn't there to be it. Work became my refuge. I into spreadsheets and quarterly reports, staying late not because I had to but because going home to my empty apartment felt like punishment. Jake had taken that job in Denver, leaving behind gossip about our affair that followed me through every office interaction. People knew. They'd whisper when I walked past, speculate about whether the divorce was worth it. Judge my choices while pretending to be sympathetic. I changed jobs twice trying to outrun the reputation, but in accounting circles word travels. I was the woman who'd thrown away a good marriage for a fling. I was the cautionary tale whispered at happy hours. Dating was impossible. The few men I met through apps or work events either wanted nothing serious, because I was clearly a cheater, or wanted to be the hero who could fix me. Neither option was appealing. Besides, I couldn't imagine trusting with someone else's heart when I'd proven so spectacularly bad with my own family's. The loneliness was crushing. Not just romantic loneliness but friend loneliness. Most of our couple friends had sided with David, which made sense. He was the victim in our story and I was the villain. Single mom friends were harder to connect with because my situation was self-inflicted. I'd chosen this isolation. Holidays were the absolute worst. Christmas morning in my apartment while my kids opened presents at their real home with their real family. David, Sarah, and whoever else had been welcomed into their new. I'd get them at noon on Christmas Day, and they'd be polite about my gifts. But I could see they were already full, already satisfied, already whole without me. Santa came to our house, Emma would say, not realizing she was talking about the house that used to be ours but wasn't anymore. The custody schedule meant I missed school plays, soccer games, parent-teacher conferences. I was the optional parent, the one who showed when convenient but wasn't part of the daily fabric of their lives. David would email me updates. Tyler made honor roll. Emma lost her first tooth. They both want to try martial arts, and I'd feel like I was getting news about distant relatives instead of my own children. Then came the birthday party invitation. Emma's 8th birthday at the house, with school friends and family. Sarah's name was on the invitation along with David's. Emma's mom and dad invite to celebrate. Emma's mom. That's what Sarah was now. Not stepmom, not dad's girlfriend. Mom, I RSVP'd yes cause missing my daughter's birthday wasn't an option. But I dreaded it for weeks. Showing at the house I used to live in, watching Sarah hostess the party I should have been throwing, seeing how seamlessly she'd stepped into the I'd abandoned. The party was beautiful. Sarah had decorated with Emma's favorite colors, organized games that kept all the kids engaged, made a homemade cake shaped like a unicorn. She was naturally good at this, better than I'd ever been. I used to stress about birthday parties, worry about Pinterest perfection, snap at David when things went wrong. Sarah made it look effortless. I stood in the corner of my former living room, watching my daughter out candles while surrounded by friends who probably didn't remember that I used to live there. David's parents were there, his sister, our old neighbors. They were polite to me but distant. I was the outsider at my own child's birthday party. Mom, come take pictures with me, Emma called, and I plastered on a smile and joined the crowd around the cake. In the photos I'm standing slightly apart, clearly not part of the unit that included David, Sarah and Tyler. I looked like a family friend, not the mother. After the party, after the guests left and I'd said goodbye to Emma and Tyler for another 5 days, Sarah walked me to my car. "Thank for coming," she said. It meant a lot to Emma. I wanted to her. It would have been so much easier if she'd been cold or possessive, or cruel to my children. Instead she was gracious and kind, acknowledging my importance in Emma's even though we both knew I'd forfeited any real claim to it. Thank for. I couldn't finish the sentence. Thank for raising my children. Thank for being the mother I should have been. Her thank for loving them when I chose someone else. They're incredible kids, Sarah said simply. Did a good job with them. Past tense, did a good job. Before everything and left. That night, I sat in my apartment looking through the photos from the party on my phone. There was one of Emma and Tyler with David and Sarah, all 4 of them laughing at something off camera. They looked like a family. A complete, happy, functional family. I wasn't in the picture, literally and figuratively. That's when it hit me, really hit me, what I'd done. I hadn't just cheated on David. I hadn't just broken my marriage vows or betrayed my husband's trust. I'd orphaned my own children while they were still alive. I'd chosen to step out of their daily lives, to become a visitor in their childhood, to hand over my role as their mother to someone else. And the worst part, they were better off without me as their primary parent. Sarah was more patient, more present, more stable. She didn't carry the guilt and self-loathing that poisoned every interaction I had with Emma and Tyler. She could love them freely, without the constant reminder of what she'd cost them. I'd destroyed my family for 8 months of feeling desired by a man who turned out to be completely forgettable. I'd traded bedtime stories and homework help and Saturday morning cartoons for hotel room afternoons with someone who didn't even for me when it mattered. The math was simple and devastating. I'd given everything that mattered for nothing that lasted. A year later, David and Sarah got engaged. Emma called to tell me, breathless with excitement about being a flower girl. Tyler was less enthusiastic but seemed genuinely happy that his dad was happy. Sarah says I can call her mom if I want to, but I don't have to, Emma said. She says you're my first mom and that's special. First mom. Like I was the prototype for the better version that came after. The wedding was beautiful. From what I saw in the photos David texted me out of courtesy. Emma in her flower girl dress, Tyler in his little suit. Heard both of them beaming as they watched their dad marry the woman who'd become the center of their world. I wasn't invited, obviously. I spent that Saturday at the mall, buying school clothes for kids who probably wouldn't need them from me anymore, trying not to think about vows being exchanged in the church where David and I had gotten married 10 years earlier. Now it's my birthday and my daughter handed me a card signed by her father and stepmother. From Mommy and Daddy. Words I didn't write, in handwriting I don't recognize from a woman who's earned the title I away. Sarah included a gift card to Target and a note, "Hope have a wonderful day." The kids wanted to pick out something special for. She's raising my children to be kind to the woman who abandoned them. She's teaching them to love me even though I chose over them when it mattered most. I'm sitting here now, in my quiet apartment, looking at that card and finally understanding what I've become. I'm not their mom anymore, not really. I'm the woman who used to be their mom, the cautionary tale their therapist will probably hear about someday. The reason they'll have trust issues in their own relationships. I'm the birthday card that someone else signed, the empty space where a mother should be, the proof that love isn't enough if don't choose it every single day. And here's the thing no one tells about destroying family: don't just lose husband, kids, house, friends, lose the person I was, Emma and Tyler's mom, David's wife, the woman who had a family and a place in the world. She's gone. I killed her the first time I texted Jake back. What's left is just the ghost of her, haunting an apartment that smells like other people's cooking, collecting my children like borrowed books I have to return. Today is my birthday, and I spent it learning that someone else is writing the story of my children's lives. Someone better, someone who chose them over temporary feelings and fleeting validation. I away a family for a fantasy, and now I get to watch from the sidelines while someone else lives that I was too selfish to for. If we're reading this and thinking about texting back someone who isn't spouse, about meeting someone for coffee who makes feel things partner doesn't anymore, about justifying betrayal because we're unhappy or bored or feel invisible, don't. Whatever think missing, whatever think deserve, whatever temporary higher chasing, it's not worth watching someone else sign children's birthday cards.